So welcome to the Women in Cyber podcast series. I'm your host, Lorene Smith. I'm the Vice President of Global Strategic Alliances at Accellion. And I'm here on CISO Street, virtually of course, with our guest, Dr. Dorit Dor, who is the Vice President of Products at Checkpoint. So welcome, Dorit. Nice to have you.
Very nice to be here. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yes. So I know most people that are going to be tuning in here know Checkpoint, but for the few that don't, if you could just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about Checkpoint before we get started.
Yeah, so I started at Checkpoint 25 years ago. It's a long time. Back then, we were a small startup. We were about 15 people. Today, I manage all the R&D, product management, and business development for the company. So I'm responsible for the roadmap and the technology direction. Checkpoint is the leader in cybersecurity. We take the customer through a complete security solution through the Infinity architecture. We provide security that is real-time prevent. So we prevent attacks. We stop attacks for customers. We provide security for network security, endpoint security, mobile security, cloud, IoT, and a lot more. Doing all that in this kind of very evolving and changing world of cyber is always a very exciting challenge. Leading the innovation, thinking what would be the next move of the attackers, as well as building the software that will enable the customers to really consume the security. So one of the challenges in security is that the consumption is too complicated and people kind of not use all the security tools that they have. So one of my challenges is to make it easy enough, deployable enough, so that the customers will actually be secure. That's it. And I think,
Okay. And I know before we started here, you were telling me a little bit about the work from home situation at Checkpoint and also just the overall pandemic situation in Israel. And maybe you can just share with the audience about where not like specifically the city, but how things are with the pandemic and how you're addressing that and dealing with that.
So Israel is competing with the US on the top spot of the bad situation, I would say. But I think while we understand kind of the situation of the global pandemic, the situation in Israel is not much better, and yet we operate. People go to restaurants, people go to the offices, etc. For Checkpoint, we enabled full flexibility for the employees. So they could choose what's more productive for them. And if they need to come to the office, they could still come to the office. Many people choose to work from home at this situation. It's a good choice. It's one that is healthy and safe, so we have no problem with it. Early on, during March, we were busy doing two things. First, moving all our customers to work from home, and in parallel, moving ourselves to work from home. Because traditionally, we were an organization that would work from the office, specifically the developers. And so it was a transformation also for us to find the ways and to learn how to do it while running, which is always exciting. I'm personally also a mother, and so I have the angle of a family. I do go to the office every day. I choose to go to the office. A few of the reasons are that I feel still the importance of seeing people, meeting people, but it also helped me kind of focus on work and do what I need. So it's my choice to go to the office, but everybody's working flexibly, and I think we did learn how to cope with this and do all our stuff. Obviously, there are other aspects, which are aspects of product and kind of cyber threats, etc., that we could discuss later.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we have been working from home since March, and we have a big development office in Singapore. And so globally, we all went home to work from home. And it was interesting to get set up. It was pretty seamless, but it's been interesting. Our CEO was concerned that we weren't going to be as productive. And so he required everybody to be on video. and I'm on calls all day long. So I'm on video all day long. And after a period of time, several weeks, he learned that we were all actually more productive than before. And I also learned that I get exhausted being on Zoom calls, 8 and 9 hours a day. So I think that's what we're dealing with now is just a lot of people, the work from home fatigue is setting in, and companies are getting, set up to address this work from home for the long haul. So it's going to
Yes.
be interesting to see where we go.
I think that one of the challenges is to kind of assess in a different way what is productivity, and how you check that you are still productive, and how you kind of keep in touch with the goals that people need to do.
Yeah.
So it's not early on we set up KPIs for everything, and we started to look at how we are doing, and we actually came to the same conclusion that on the day-to-day job we are very productive, and sometimes even more productive. Some of it comes because people are at home and don't have many other alternatives, but some of it is just productivity. They are not on the road. They
Right.
have found a convenient way to work. They don't have as much distraction from time off.
That's right.
Coffee.
Yeah.
Coffee.
I know. I mean, I don't miss my commute from San Francisco to Palo Alto. I don't live in San Francisco anymore, but when I was there, I was commuting every day, and it was grueling, So I don't get to listen to as many podcasts as I did before because I listened to them in the car. But so focusing back on you, how did you get your start in cybersecurity? I know you've been working for Check Point pretty much your whole career. Did you know going into university that you wanted to do this, and how did you end up at Check Point?
So in Israel, before university, you usually go to the army.
Right.
So the career starts for kind of teenagers in Israel. It starts with the army question. I chose to go to the university to learn math and computer science before going to the army in a special program that then gets you drafted to a professional job in the army. So we could start, earlier than this. Why did I think
Right.
that math and computer science would be interesting? I don't actually know for sure. I know I liked always to solve riddles and kind of to face challenges. I was never that sure that that's what I want to learn, but before deciding what to do in the army, etc., I opened a booklet of the university to see, what people are studying, just to see if something is interesting. And as I opened the page of math and computer science, it just hit me that somebody, asked what would I want to learn and just put it all together in one program. It was amazing for me. I didn't know that there was math and computer science at that time together.
Okay.
And I decided to simply register to one, Tel Aviv University, math and computer science. That was my only personal choice. So I'm not really sure, what got me to be so sure about that. That was
Right.
still not cyber. That was just math and computer science. But the road from there through Army and Intelligence Unit was, more obvious going into cyber from that point.
So you mentioned you have kids. Are they school age kids?
So they graduate from university.
Oh, they did. All right.
We are all a cyber family. So in the family, everyone has to be at least a math or computer science degree to qualify. So we are all in the same.
That's funny. I have two kids that have graduated university as well, and one is in communications and works in a marketing department. She does UX design, but my other one, the younger one, is she early on loved puzzles and all that, and when she came to graduate from college, she's like, I don't really know what to do, and I said, how about engineering? And she's always been really good at math. And she loved it. So now she just graduated and she's a mechanical engineer. So she just got a job at a semiconductor company in the Bay Area. So it's interesting to see how the kids grow up and do they follow in the footsteps. So you have a cyber.
So actually, I didn't mean to push them to this direction, but they all found their way in a similar way. And I think that there is a linkage between drafting to the army, going to intelligence unit,
Right.
into cyber at early stage that gets you excited about it, that gets you
Right.
into the
Yeah.
program.
Exactly, and we actually, I didn't really know much about the Israeli army and what you're talking about until I started at Excellion, and our CEO is Israeli, and he knows Gil, and he was in Israel, obviously in Israeli intelligence as well, and he hired our chief product officer who is Israeli in the same unit as him, and since then we've hired probably 4 other people and extremely brilliant, very focused in this area. So I understand now how you get that focus and direction. So who, as you've evolved in your career, who inspires you?
So I actually don't have like one name that I look up to. I would say I'm a student. I speak to you, I speak to other customers, I speak to employees, I speak to my kids, I speak to the friends of my kids. I learn from everybody something. I don't have like one mentor that escorts me the whole way. I look amazed at what some other companies in the industry do, and I read books of how their CEO, went to do what they do. But it's not a one man show or one woman show. It's more of a diversity of learning all these and seeing what fits me the best. I think we have a lot to learn also from our employees, from our customers, from our peers. So it's not just that I look to people, in a certain level, etc. And there is a lot to evolve and change. The world is changing around us very fast and all the time. So if you want to modernize yourself, if you want to be the innovation, you have to read a lot. You said blogs. I also listen to blogs on the way to work. My way, even though the distances in Israel are smaller than in the US, the traffic is as bad. So as long you get to hear a lot of podcasts that are very interesting.
Right. Yeah.
So
Yeah, that's good.
I get a piece from everybody about how they scale their organization, how they came up with their ideas, how they evolved a certain technology, how they acquired the company, how they got acquired,
Right.
what was their criteria in seeking a job. There are many things you could do that all are different, and at the end they come up as part of your day role.
Yeah, that's really true. As I mentioned, I moderate a lot of panels with CISOs, and I've learned, especially since we've been in lockdown, I've probably done 12 panels since March, and 3 to 4 CISOs on each one, and I have learned so much. It's really true. You just steep yourself in all different types of people and backgrounds. And I like the idea of the kids too, because you've learned so much from this younger generation. And
I always use this example. My older kid, when he wants to search something, he would search in Google as a text. My younger kid will search in YouTube as a video. And I would never understand, I would never think about searching in YouTube and
right.
find how to, but you have to listen to them to know that this is now a new way. And okay, so what you're doing about it, how you show up on their agenda too.
Right. Exactly. I know, and it's relating to them as well is really important. But I wonder with all these technologies like TikTok, and I'm not a TikTok person at all. I have an account, but I don't really go to it at all. But I oftentimes think, God, am I missing out? Do I need to stay up on this technology? Because before you know it, you blink your eyes and it's taken off. So I'm sure being somebody that's in charge of the products, you have to stay on top of things in all different forms is really important.
I must say I'm more on top of cyber and kind of IT and technology than in, I would say, media and social networks.
Right. Yeah.
Not that big on that front.
Yeah, that's good. So since the pandemic is just top of mind for everybody now, how has COVID changed the threat landscape? I know that a lot of the CISOs I talk to say the hackers are, working from home, thinking outside the box. How, and you as Checkpoint need to stay ahead of the game. How does that change the threat landscape for you?
So I think at first there was a lot of new stuff, and the new stuff is a great opportunity for hackers. You could take new links of invites to Zoom or other links and try to imitate links like this, do phishing, start to steal identities, but also starting from there to perform attacks. So we saw malware that disguised to all kind of software that came to help you with the COVID situation. We saw web pages that disguise themselves as relevant to COVID. And since everything was new, then you'd go to these sites and get infected, or use this app and get infected, etc. So this is kind of one aspect. But the other aspect is that people from that point start to use all the doors that they have. So if you now diversified your workplace, you started to work from home, they could start attacking pieces that are distributed outside of your organization quickly and find weak links. We see a dramatic increase in ransomware just as an opportunity to gain money. So there are people that are starting to use the changes that happened in customers' environment in order to find new entry points for attacks. We also know that the digital transformation that happened on the backbone of what organizations did was done very quickly, and it has the risk of opening up things that you never intended to open. So your data is all of a sudden flowing all around, and so the attackers would use this data more easily. The amazing thing is how quickly they find out. So if you weren't careful and you have private keys to your cloud, to your kingdom, they get stolen, and through that the attack would start. We see attacks that are relevant for commercial reasons, just trying to gain money. We see attacks that are more political or social, kind of all kind of groups that are trying to make a claim. I know there are many in Israel that trying to claim that the government should do A, B, or C, or that the economy should help people around, or politics. So everything here is under stress because of the stressful situation, and people start to use cyber for all these reasons, for earning money, for making their kind of claim out loud, for political reasons, etc. So these are both the reasonings of the attacks and the tools by which the attacks are being made.
Yeah, I think too, what we're seeing a lot in the US is that people are worried, they're scared, they don't know where to go to get the information, and the hackers will send emails to say, hey, here's the latest, or you applied for unemployment, when they really didn't, but they don't know. I mean, they're like, what is this? And they click on the link. So I think there's just so many different angles that are coming in at people now. It's really, it's preying on it's on the stressful situation, obviously. Yeah. So I think that people have to understand is that this is going to stay the way, what we left behind us will come back at us. So what we opened up, the data we spread around, then moved to the cloud, or anything we did, the way we operated, it changed all of a sudden. So social engineering tools, people are more on social, so they are more sensitive to information that's being spread there. So everything that changed at day one, because it's new, it's a tool for a hacker to take advantage of. Yeah. This is actually the way they work is by leveraging this very clearly. So I know I mentioned earlier what Excellion does. I'm just curious now what your thoughts. This is like putting you on the spot, but see what you have to comment on. And I mentioned that Excellion is introducing and is a enterprise content firewall that secures content. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on something like an enterprise content firewall that is securing the content so that it prevents the hackers from getting to it. Is that something that you think would deter the hackers?
Well, I think that there is this story of two people trying to run from a lion, and one is running faster than the other, and it's unclear why he's trying that hard to run fast. And he says, "I only need to run faster than the other guy. If the lion will catch the other guy, that's good enough for him, and he's safe." Right. So in that sense, the more you add, the more prevention you add, the harder is it for the attacker. I don't know your technology specifically, and we didn't have an elaborative discussion on this.
No, I'm just curious.
Data is one of the problems, because what happened is that people went home and they needed data, which they didn't always have access to. So all of a sudden, this data started to be published in all kinds of places to be accessible. If an attacker is trying to catch your data, then yes, if you can prevent access to this data, it would be certainly important. But for the data, I think the angles, if we want to start to talk about data, so the angles about data could be that he actually wants the data pieces that are inside, or that he wants to put something in the data that will make you vulnerable, put something on the web pages, put something in CV that would be a malware that will hit you later, to use this as a jumping point for a phishing attack, to collect information about it. So there are many things that could be done with the data, and you have to realize what you prevent the attacker from using out of your data. So differentiating what is the data that you want to give and to whom is not an easy question.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I think one of the CISOs I talked to last week, he said it's all about chasing data now. So to your point, and just staying one step ahead of the hackers. So yeah.
When we just to say when we started with DLP, which is one of the technologies we have, one of the challenges is that it's sometimes hard to know if this data was intentionally published or not intentionally published. Here's the same data, and I intentionally gave it to this partner to be used. Or you could see this data and it was unintentionally published, and you should hide it from everybody else. And knowing my intention is sometimes the harder part. Why did I send it? Was it my mistake? Did I leak the data unintentionally, or was it intentional?
Interesting. Well, I'm sure we could spend a whole hour talking about that as well. So, so switching gears a little bit and talking specifically about women, since this is a Women in Cyber podcast series, what changes have you seen in cybersecurity in terms of opportunity for women, or have you seen that? I mean, you've been in this cyber career for 25 years. I'm sure you've seen a lot of changes.
So actually, it's surprising, but there were more women in computer science, I think, when I studied in the university than afterwards. So there was a reduction at some point. I think it started to come back, but I think we definitely have a problem of the pipeline that is not big enough. So at first, use the women from going into this space at earlier age, even before the end of high school. And certainly we miss them in the army, in the same places that promote like cyber in Israel. I think sometimes we gain them back at later stage. They realize that it's interesting and they would come back, but we have to deal with all that part. I do think that there is much more awareness for facilitating diversity at work, and facilitating diversity everywhere. And so I would like to think that it's improving the women's situation, and I'd like to think that there are less ceilings for women to, if they want to get into technology or managerial roles or whatever you want to do. But the numbers are not moving that fast. So the numbers are very, very slow moving. So we don't see, I would say, a proof of change over the last few years yet. We see sporadic changes, but I wouldn't say that we are in a trend of making it much easier. The good news is that we are also not making it harder. And we do see some change, so you could be optimistic that this for the good.
Yeah, it does seem like we are making it easier, but like you said, there's, just a matter of the women getting focused and interested in pursuing that. I know I'm just joined as a founding member of a group of women to be on tech boards, and it's now this kind of groundswell of this movement of more and more women getting on boards, because there's now requirements on public boards to have more women on. So it's been interesting to see that change. I mean, certainly when I started, I've been in technology for 25 years as well, and I was always one of the very few women that was in the field, especially in sales, because I was in sales for a while as well. That's a difficult field when you're trying to raise
sales and sales and R&D are hard. I agree that sales is very hard. I also had been lonely in that sense. In my career. So even in the high school, we were only 2 girls at the class.
Wow.
And in our specific place in the army, they would rarely get women. Not because they didn't want, because the pipe was smaller for that, I think.
Yeah.
So initially, I didn't feel it as a problem. So for me as a person, it wasn't a big issue. I didn't feel restricted. I always say that it's a great place to be because you get to be noticed. You are in a group of 20 CISOs. You are the only woman. Who would they remember?
That's right.
So to be remembered and to be approached later, and everything is. I think I see a great advantage in being a woman, even if you are not 50-50. But over the years, I realized that there is some problem here, and that we are not getting women for the wrong reasons, and we need the talent. And this is, at the end of the day, 50% of the talent. And I think that women bring great attributes to the workplace. And so I started to kind of work more in helping this to happen. Started to promote both program. I'm on the board of an organization called She Codes that help women get into coding. I did many panels in Israel and outside of Israel, talking to everything from teenagers to more adult audiences. And I'm having also a mentoring program in Checkpoint to help promote the course.
Yeah. So tell me about that program at Checkpoint.
So what we're trying to do is to make it easier and more comfortable place for women to develop in technology. So we are looking for women from technology roles like R&D, QA, support. And we are assigning mentors and mentorees as a pair. We try to select them with a common interest or with a good opportunity to influence each other. We get HR to help us in this process. We start with the kickoff of this program. We give some additional lectures and education during the time. We will do a networking meeting if there was a possibility to meet. We will do it in Zoom if there is.
Yeah.
And the idea is for the mentor to help the mentoree in a certain phase of what they need in their phase. It could be in a technology development. It could be how to help them, cope with work-life balance. It could be how to develop in a managerial role. It could be just how to find answers in the organization, how to be more influential. It could be many other places, but we're not getting involved into the specific discussion. And we do this for a limited period of time, and we do this about twice a year, so that we could influence as many women as we can, and make sure that they feel desired, that we help them if they have concerns, we help them develop.
And you have it. This is a global program, correct? So that it's, or is it mostly in Israel?
This is mostly in Israel because the R&D organization is mostly in Israel. Okay. And it's focused around the R&D organization. I did offer peers in sales and others to do a similar thing in the US and in other places, but I don't know what's the status of doing this elsewhere. Mm-hmm. The program I'm into is very focused in Israel because of the people that are specifically, so my organization is in large percentage in Israel. We also have developers in Europe, in the US, and even in Asia, but the majority, the vast majority of people are in Israel.
Yeah, I'm wondering what your experience is with women coming in, the younger generation now. Do you see them more confident in coming in to say, look at, there's no gender difference. I'm just as qualified. I just wonder because, the older generation, I think, was met with more inequality in that area and more thinking, oh, I'm not valuable. I'm not, capable of doing this. And now, like, I see my daughters coming up and their friends, and they I don't even think it crosses their mind. They just know they can do it. So I think there's a difference in confidence in the generations. But I'm just wondering if you see that with the people that are coming into your program.
So I think that there is differences in confidence, but there is also a difference in the confidence of the men. So they also become more confident, and so there is still a gap.
Okay.
The women and the confidence of the men. Actually, a very young person joining my organization could come to me and say, what would be your advice? I'm looking to be CEO a few years from now. Right. How would you see me develop my career? Okay. Right. This is a question that the women would never ask me.
Right. Yeah. That's so funny. And I do see my kids too, the younger, they just want immediately, boys and girls, they want to immediately go to the top. And I'm saying you have to work your way up, and there's value in that. And they don't see that. It's immediate. They need to have it now. So that's I think a challenge as well. So
but I agree there is a difference in confidence, but I'm not sure that we kind of change the balance between men and women in making it even.
So what's the most important lesson you've learned in your career to date?
Well, there are many lessons that I learned. I think that I learned that if I want to get somewhere, I need to define it and drive that. So nobody would define where to go for me, and I need to define it. It could be in my career, it could be in where the organization need to go, or where the products need to go. And if I will not define the bar high enough, I will not get to that point. So I would have to define it very high so that we will aim high and we will get somewhere near it, because there are many bumps in the road. And so I have to put this bar somewhere to make it happen. I think this is something that wasn't always trivial. I always liked the details, and I could analyze all the details and understand where I'm going to, and not necessarily communicate that, not necessarily say out loud what should we be doing, and how should we drive next. And I learned that it's very important to do this. I also learned that if I want something, I could just try to ask for that, and sometimes it just happened and I get it. So I think
I mean,
some
it's
people,
good to ask.
yes, some people, especially this happens more in women, so they are more conservative. Should I ask for this? Is it good? Is it not good? And I said, just ask. You
Right.
want this? Ask. What the worst that would happen to you? They would say
Exactly.
no. Even if they would say no, it would be a very polite no. So they would say,
Right.
no, maybe not now. Now you have a leg, because next time you would ask, it would be already the second time. They are more likely to give you what they want. So I think I learned things. I gave two examples. One is more on my kind of professional, how to lead people. Others would be more on how would how would I cope with people, and how would I work on myself and kind of push
Right.
myself.
Yeah, I think it's really important to write your goals down. I've learned that over the years, and putting it in writing. Also, asking and outright going and asking for it really helps. But I've always told my kids, shoot for the stars, not the horizon. And they, when they were little, they were like, whatever, mom. And now I see them doing that, and writing goals down and being more confident about that. So anyway, it's interesting. I love to hear what other people have learned from and what they do to get where they're going in life. So
the writing them down is one, and the other one is communicating them, because you feel sometimes that you know what the goals are, and you said it already 3 times, so probably everybody else heard it already.
Right.
But you'd
Right.
figure out that most of them didn't, so you'd have to say it like 20 times or 100 times to really get it into the system, memorize, etc. So it's not it's setting the goals, it's writing the goals, it's driving to the goals, but it's also communicating.
That's true. Very true. Yeah. So are there any female leaders that you admire? I know you earlier talked about there's a lot of different people that make up kind of your list of people you admire, but and inspire you. But is there any in particular women?
I don't like to name women, because then I unname other women, and
Yeah.
I'm in contact with many women.
Yeah.
From many of them, I learned a lot of things. So I don't feel like
Yeah.
go one particular name versus another. I look up to scientists on my kind of PhD type of career. I look
Right.
at cyber leaders. I look at CEOs of companies. I look at just even people that accomplished something very hard that they wanted
Right.
to. So I don't kind of categorize them by one name.
Yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. And I feel like it's when you read a book or you meet somebody or you read an article, you get inspired at that moment, and then it just adds to the list of people who you look up to and who inspires you. So
builds your build up for the future.
Right. Exactly. I had this listing on, or somebody posted something on LinkedIn the other day and about women lifting women up, and she was attributing and commenting on the people that have done that, and I started thinking about it, and I posted a bunch of people, but I'm like, this list is endless. It's you can't name them all. So I get that.
Some of them get insulted because you
didn't. Right. Exactly. So just in closing out here, what do you want Checkpoint to accomplish this year? And it is an interesting year just because of the pandemic, but tell us about that.
So I think that the pandemic really made a huge acceleration in the digital transformation. And what is the digital transformation? It's a bit different from company to company. It's usually about automating and utilizing the technology in a very different way. It could be that you moved all your assets to the cloud, that you started to use services, that you moved to use mobile, that you moved to use social networks more, that you do your marketing different. There are many different angles that got changed. And the adoption of security in all these places is really critical, in my opinion. So it's how to secure the cloud, but also how to leverage the cloud to secure other services, what's called SASE, and in general securing the digital transformation. So I wish for us to be the leaders in security in doing this. I think that the world is still trying to figure out. There are a lot of small activities that will eventually merge and team up to bigger spaces and bigger ways to use this. We had many years to plan how we did the security so far, and we have short time to figure out some changes and to evolve to fit how people would utilize the security now. So I wish to be a leader of that security inside this transformation of the world and how they use IT resources. How do they approach a problem? So I'd like to be in their mind as the top security player, as the best security in terms of when they think, how would I secure that? How would I secure the whole problem? How would I build an architecture that will enable me to move fast and achieve the goals?
It sounds like a very good goal. I know a lot of the CISOs I talked to in the last 6 months have told me and confirmed what you're saying, is that there's been a massive leap to implementing cloud programs that were sort of on hold for a little bit, implementing zero trust. There's a lot of things that have just been fast forwarded to address the pandemic and the cyber attacks that are happening now. So sounds like a good goal.
There are also, I think that also another angle of me in this space is that this all digital transformation is a lot done by developers. So many of the people behind this are developers that are starting to use more security tools and have to be more influential on how security gets to be deployed by the organization. And this is kind of an audience we know that is more similar to us. So there are also differences in personas sometimes in the organization where this takes place. And we have to build our security not just for the same personas, but also add tools that would be interesting for the other personas in the organization.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So last question here, and I know you said your family is a cyber family, but what do you do when you're not in cyber mode? And maybe that's not very much of the time, but what do you like to do outside of work?
So actually, I like something that is out of the mode now. I like to meet people.
Oh, okay.
My most exciting time is when I'm with a lot of people. I meet people. I like to present on stage. I like large parties. I like to dance. I like to invite friends home. So in January and February, we had the largest events for the year. We do 3 events in the US, Europe, and Asia Pacific.
Yes.
And we had about 10,000 guests in these events before the Corona started. And it was amazing. In
Right.
Vienna, we had 4,500 people.
I was in New Orleans at the New Orleans one. I was one of those thousands.
And so it was so exciting to be there with all the people and to interact with them. And so this is, I think, something I have to kind of refigure out with this social distancing,
Right.
because if there is something I'm not a social distancing person. So I have to.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are like that, and they're realizing that they're like that because we have to find different ways. It's so anyway. Well, thank you very much. It was very interesting speaking with you, and I know that a lot of women who are going to be coming to this series are going to appreciate the content here. And I know that there's a lot that we can put on our CISO perspective as well for all CISOs and all security professionals. So thank you so much for your time.
To participate in other panels and forum and also help other CISOs in their journey.
Very good. Great. Thank you. So this concludes our Women in Cyber interview series. Thank you so much, Dorit. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.